Welcome back. We continue now with my interview with Andrew Gillum, the Democratic nominee for governor. Among the topics we cover in this block, marijuana and health care. Do you believe recreational marijuana should be legalized?
I do. I think we have built the criminal justice system in this state largely off of the use of marijuana, not necessarily the sale of. And I think that it has propped up a prison industrial complex in this state that is costly, that is inefficient and ineffective. I'm the mayor of the city that right now is experiencing a 5-year low in our crime rate, and we accomplished that by having fewer arrests at the same time. The best way to control crime rate in a community is to ensure that you're reducing the number of folks who are reoffending. And the problem with a lot of this criminal justice, as it's been executed in our state, is that we punish people for a lifetime for a mistake. And in my opinion, we've got folks who have intended our communities harm, and they ought to pay the penalty. But we're talking about largely nonviolent, non-criminal, non-sales offenses. And you've got folks whose lives are being ripped away from them forever for a mistake. Talk
to me about how you would envision that working. Is it from the 18 up, 21 up? Who would be able to
similar to alcohol laws, right?
Similar to alcohol.
That you'd have to be of age. I think obviously we can take example from places like Colorado, where I actually think that they've done a really good job integrating that system and building the budget of the state at the same time. You can't go to a bar in Colorado and smoke weed. It must be done in the confines of your own home, your own personal space. And I think that it's created a really clean environment there. You got more folks exercising out there, a lot of trails. But in our state, we know that we built a system that is extremely punitive, extremely expensive. And in the state of Florida, you've got about 60% of people who are sitting in jails around this state that have not been found guilty of a crime, many of them through nonviolent offenses, many of them marijuana related.
Are there any other drugs that you would seek to decriminalize or legalize?
No, but I do think by legalizing marijuana, we may also be able to get a better handle on the opioid epidemic, which is wreaking havoc over all parts of this state and in South Florida in really pronounced ways. I also believe that one of the things that is really important about this is to follow some of the science on it, and I think to disrupt some of these other illicit drugs that are coming from, frankly, legal drug companies that are ravaging our communities. It's costing our public a lot of money and causing untold harm to individuals, to families, and to communities.
Let's talk about health care. That's a nice segue into health care, the opioid crisis in general, and now talking about health care. I know you're planning on rolling out, again, we're taping this on Monday. Yeah. I know you're going to be rolling out some ideas. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about what you envision.
Yeah, well, we want to clarify our position here on health care. One, I've been an endorser of Medicaid for all at the federal level. And I've also said in the state of Florida, it would not be achievable or conceivable for Florida to go it alone. We'd have to have movement across a whole range of populations and states where we could then negotiate on behalf of everyday Floridians. But as governor, what we will do, and this stands in firm contrast to my opponent, we're going to work to expand Medicaid for over 800,000 of the most medically needy people in the state of Florida. By doing so, we will pull down $6 billion from the federal government that right now is being distributed to other states, all because we don't believe in quote-unquote Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. Where my opponent and I also differ is that he has voted to allow insurance companies to reinstill discrimination of health insurance based off of pre-existing conditions. Whether you have sickle cell trait, or whether you've got cancer, or whether you are a pregnant woman, which in the state of Florida is a pre-existing condition. My opponent wants insurance companies to be able to discriminate against those individuals. Listen, in the state of Florida, we got people who are literally terrified of getting sick. We've got people who feel that they may be one illness away from bankruptcy. And my opponent is going around figuring out ways to increase the cost and access. Right now in this state is campaigning today around with a group that has committed themselves to repealing the Affordable Care Act. When you're governor of the state of Florida, you got to do what is in the best interest of the people of the state of Florida. Not partisanship, not hardline left or right. It is my opinion that it is in the best interest of the people of the state of Florida to expand Medicaid, not only for those who are uninsured, but for those of us who have health insurance and are right now seeing our premiums increase year over year over year because those costs are being passed down through our insurance rates from hospitals and the like.
So I just want to go back through just one part of this. You're talking about Medicare for all.
Yeah.
Does that mean that right now I receive my health insurance through CBS?
Yes.
Do you want everyone who has private insurance through their employer to be moved into a government program?
No, I don't. I believe that we've got private insurance companies that are good players. Florida Blue might be one example of a company that, in spite of horrible obstacles that we set up for them here in the state, have figured out a way to register more people for access to the Affordable Care Act. We want them to explode that. What I'm saying is we've got 15% of the people in this state, 15%, one out of every 5 people who don't have access to health care except through the emergency rooms and through emergency clinics. It is the most expensive and least efficient form of care, and it costs all of us more. Right now in this state, we're spending about 90% of the cost on about 10% of the population. These also happen to be the folks with the most acute illnesses because of, for many reasons, but for many of them because of an inability to maintenance their health care. All we want to do is bring down the cost for everybody and insure more people. That's the system we want to create.
I want to turn to the economy for a little bit.
Yeah.
The current governor, the man who's running against you, both Republican Party in general, tout the incredible economic success of Florida, citing the low unemployment rate, the fact that businesses do move here. Isn't there some truth to that? Do you give Governor Scott credit for anything as it relates to the economy?
Well, what I would say is I give him credit for an economy that is largely propped up on low-wage work. Of course, you got a low unemployment rate when people got to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. 44% of the people in the state of Florida say that they cannot pay their bills at the end of the month. I feel this deeply. I remember growing up down here in Miami and in Gainesville watching my mother and father argue between which bills they could pay before something got cut off. That is too frequently the real experience for people in our state. And so what I'm saying is we can create the kind of economy where people can work 1 job instead of multiple jobs to take care of themselves and their family. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily require you to have a college degree. That's why we talk about skills training. We know that we've got a skills gap in this country. I know it well because I competed for and won as the mayor of the city of Tallahassee the tech hire designation during the Obama administration for the work that we're doing to retrain workers on tech-related jobs that exist today. What about the energy boom, the energy future that we can create? The state of Florida ought to lead the rest of the nation in innovation in this space, and instead we're a lagger, we're a follower, we're a back-of-the-pack state on too many of these areas.
We're almost finished. I just want a couple of quick things. Enterprise Florida is a program that the governor has used to try to offer financial incentives, tax breaks, others to bring corporations here. Is Enterprise Florida something you would maintain, or do you think it's been done well under Governor Scott?
It is something that we would maintain. I have to tell you, I don't think there's a mayor across this state that would say that you want to take or get rid of any tools in the economic development toolbox. I think it's a tool. But if we recruit these folks to our state, Burnham, Scripps, for instance, which I think they're on their way out of Orlando because they can't get access to the talent that they need to fill that job pipeline. We've got to level this out so that when we recruit these companies into our state or we grow them from within, we've got to ensure that we can equip them with the workforce to then fall into those jobs, earn good wages, and keep those folks here. That's been our challenge. I think we've been too lopsided on the incentive side and not putting enough into the human capital and the human development.
We'll be right back after the break.